Hi, I'm Coach Landry, and the topic is why men and women think differently. So I was doing some walking with a good friend of mine, and we were talking about some stuff, and she brought up something about how men and women, think different, and men look at things one way, women think of another. So I decided to do a little shout out to her and do a little topic on it. And I'll start off with saying we think men and women are different, or do we want to live in a ball where we think we're the same? Because we're not. We clearly do things differently. It's why men are successful at some things and women particularly don't have as high of a percentage of success. And it's why women are successful at some things and men don't have a high level of success in those areas. And it's not because anything needs to be special. Is that we need to face the fact that we are not equal in all things that we do by science, by nature, by biology. Everything's born with certain assets, certain personality traits, certain brain wiring. And because of that, that makes certain people, certain genders, just certain people around geographically better at certain things. And the sooner you start to accept that, the sooner you stop fighting an uphill battle. So just understand that biology plays a big role in the way we unfold and the way we go about things, right? It's why men typically have an ability to go to a job and move up the ladder and do things a certain way, because men have a better ability to have a singular focus and not care about anything else at the same time and just run down a straight line. Whereas women look at that very differently. Women think about everything at all times. Everything's connected in a woman's brain. In a man's brain, everything can be separated, and like a good way to think about it is in files. Does this mean that men are better than women or that women are better than men? No. It simply means that we are better at some things and women are better at some things. And with exception to the rule, let's say 10% of men and 10% of women can be just as good as the opposite sex, right? Because we're all born a little bit different. But in general, studies have shown that men and women's brains are simply different. And that's a fact, not disputable. So why men and women think differently is really not that complicated. Women are much more complicated than men, and not in the sense of they're smarter or they're better. And just because of that doesn't mean men are smarter or better. It just means, like I said, we're simply different. Men are very simple. And you know why? It's because their brains are so different. I'll start off with men's brains are very unique, right? Most women don't realize that whether we are having sex, watching sports, our brains are made up of little tiny boxes. And we've got a box for everything. We've got a box for a car. We've got a box for money. We've got a box for a job. We've got a box for you. We've got a box for the kids. And there's probably a box for your mother-in-law somewhere hidden in a basement if you're married. We've got boxes everywhere. The rule is with men's brains, the boxes don't ever touch. When a man discusses a particular subject, we go to that particular box. We pull that box out. We open the box. We discuss only what is in that box. And then we close that box and we put it back away, being very, very careful not to touch other boxes. Now, women's brains are vastly different from men's brains in that respect. Women's brains are made up of, just think of a bunch of wire, and everything is connected. All right. The money's connected to the car is connected to your job, and your kids are connected to your mother, and everything is all interconnected like a giant universe. It's like the internet superhighway, and it's all driven by energy, or energy that we call emotion. It's one of the reasons why women tend to remember everything. Because if you take an event and you connect it to an emotion and it burns in your memory and you can remember it forever, the same thing happens for men. It just doesn't happen as often because men, frankly, we don't care. And not that we don't care in some, unempathetic way. It's just men believe in or have a much stronger sense of mission and focus. And when that comes to particular things, we stick to that and everything else goes to the wayside during that process. Whereas women connect everything during processes. So if it's probably why when you look at math and you look at engineering, there's a vast higher number of men that do engineering and math over women because it's a very focused creation subject. But if you flip that switch and you look at, let's say, being a teacher or, handling multitasking, women excel far more than men do in that kind of thing because they're not so singular focused. They can handle multiple things at the same time. Now, men, have a box in our brain that most women are not aware of. This particular box has nothing in it. In fact, we call it the nothing box. And of all the boxes a man has in his brain, the nothing box is the favorite box, because if a man has a chance, he'll go to the nothing box every time. And that's why a man can do something seemingly completely brain dead for hours on end, like, fishing, painting a model car, something like that, where there's a little bit of focus, but not much. It's because what women don't realize about men, and this is true in animals and male animals, special mammals, is that when men look like they're doing nothing and sleeping, actually, if you study men's biology, men regain focus and energy by doing nothing, because they work. The best way to think about it is they work in spurts of focus. So if you see a lion and his cubs are all over him and he's laying on the ground and he's been doing that for 3 hours, while the pack of female lions are roaming around keeping the cubs in line and scavenging for food, you might think, well, why doesn't that lion get off his ass and do something? Well, it's the same thing with men. Why are men sitting in front of TVs for so long and whatnot? Men gather their focus and men gather their energy. They may look like they're sitting there and just watching the show. What actually is happening inside their body is a completely different biology. Now, they've actually measured this. The University of Pennsylvania a couple of years ago did a study and discovered that men have the ability to think about absolutely nothing and still breathe. And somehow when they're done with that, come out and be twice as focused as they were before they started laying there. Women can't do it. Their minds have never stopped. They don't stop working. So they don't have the ability to sit down and just kind of regain and rejuvenate. And it's something that I work with a lot of my female clients on starting to do. Women need to take time to rejuvenate. All right. And they don't understand the nothing box, and it drives them crazy, because nothing drives a woman more crazy and makes them feel more irritated than to watch a man do nothing when they're upset. And that's because you have to understand the way men's boxes work. And men, the same thing. It drives men crazy when women can't stop talking about something, can't let something go, or they keep bringing something up. Women, it's connected everywhere. All their boxes are connected for them. So men out there understand that when a woman is nagging, it's because somewhere in her brain, it's remembered, it's connected, and she can't stop thinking about it. For women, remember that when you're coming at a man, if you think he's being dismissive or doesn't care, it's usually because men believe in single focused, one file at a time. And there's a reasoning for that. Biology has set this up for a reason. It didn't happen by accident. So neither one of you should punish each other for going about things like that. You must understand it's the way you're wired. There's nothing you can do about it. And like I always say, biology is undefeated. Nothing ever beats biology. But what you can do is if you go look at my segment on 7 signs of a successful relationship and how to turn conflict into success, it's ways to compromise and find middle ground on those parts that don't work between men and women. And if you're healthy and you're in love, or you love each other properly, you can overcome those things very, very easily. When we talk about these things, it's not that they're not recoverable. It's that you have to recognize that they're there first so that you know how to steer the ship. If nobody tells you there's an iceberg in front of your ship and you just keep going forward while you're arguing, well, you're going to hit the iceberg. Whereas if you're told how certain things work and you're educated a little bit and you take time to realize this stuff, you'll learn how to move your ship a little better so that you two can align up and be a better team. So I hope this information was helpful to you. And if you'd like to book a personal session, contact me via the email below. And if you found this information helpful, show your appreciation by clicking on the PayPal donation link below. And I will talk to you soon.